What's up, everybody? Legacy here with a special guest, Travysty, for another episode of the Rift Recap. Travysty, say what's up to everyone.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Travysty.
Yeah, so in case people don't know who you are, go ahead and give them a little bit introduction of who you are and what you do for the scene.
So I am a shoutcaster. I shoutcast primarily, write games, I guess is the best way to put it. I do Wild Rift. I do a bunch of stuff for Team Liquid over in the Wild Rift Weekly Showdown over there. And then also I do a lot of League of Legends casting. I've just got done covering Proving Grounds and covering all sorts of different events throughout the scene.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. And this is something I'm really excited about. Today, we're actually going to talk about the Wild Rift North American Summoner Series. And man, for the last 3 months, it's been amazing watching these teams grow and watch them actually go play on for the first live event. Unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, obviously, it was a little different, but the production was phenomenal, in my opinion. What were your thoughts on that?
The whole entire production was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I thought the event was really fun to watch as a viewer. I thought it was actually a very nice event for people to be able to watch. And I think it comes down to everybody from the production to the casting staff. Everybody did a great job, and the games were fantastic as well, which made it very easy to tune in.
Oh, absolutely. I think everyone from Charmer to all the sets of casters did well. The players going into the chat to supporting their teams. And I think it was interesting. It was a great run, the 3 months, and up to the actual finals event. I think we all pretty much knew who the top 4 or 5 teams were. For me, the top 4 heading into it, clearly number 1 was Tribe, and then I had before everything, I had Enemy second, Immortals third, and Sentinels 4th seed. That was basically my power rankings. Basically, I think that's actually how they ended up being seeding anyways, but I don't think anyone would disagree with us when we said that Tribe was by far the best team going into the event.
Yeah, I think you would have to be a blind person not to think that Tribe was the heavy favorites. They are phenomenal in every position, and these players playing together before Wild Rift, obviously, it just shows inside the gameplay. This is the raid boss inside of the North American scene for any of the teams, and it's definitely the goal to beat.
Yeah, I definitely had Tribe as my tournament prediction to win, but I'll be honest, like going in, I didn't know who number 2 was going to be, especially since I believe, Tribe did drop in the Rift Masters, but I felt like the other teams were definitely leveling up and ramping up throughout their journey to get there. So it was interesting to see how it played out. Who was your top 4? Was that exactly your top 4 as well in that order, or did you have someone else?
So I'll be honest, my top 4 is more like a top 3. Because I had Tribe, Enemy, Immortals. For my 4th, I honestly kind of had a Hail Mary. I was expecting it to be an upset inside of the top 4. So I kind of had the mystery guest here. And I was just looking at a team to come up and actually surprise a lot of these other teams that have been showing so much prowess inside of the scene so far. So I actually was not as sold on Sentinels, and I thought we were going to see another team kind of climb up into the rings. I didn't really have a name there, but I didn't feel right putting Sentinels in 4th because I felt like they still have some time that they need to grow, I feel.
Absolutely. So you were in the more of like, hey, there's going to be a dark horse. And one of the things actually that I kind of want to mention, that since we haven't talked about it, there's one name that we didn't even talk about yet, and that's Cloud9. Cloud9, we did not even mention, and it's no shame. And by the way, like every team that went to the finals event, really props to you guys. Shout out to you guys. There's a lot of opportunity for you guys, and please stick together. That's the last thing we want is for these teams to like break apart. But yeah, Cloud9 was not in my top 5 or top 4. Actually, even in my top 5, I'll be honest. I think I was after 4. I kind of thought is kind of potentially these other teams that had no orgs, that had no names, and we'll get into them later. Yeah. We'll just go through the bracket run real fast. Let me pull up my image here. I just got it. So in the top bracket, we had it was the first game was, I believe, off stream, and it was Cloud9, or not Cloud. It was Tribe versus Do. That was a 2-0. And then you had Sentinels dropping to Cloud9 0-2, which was interesting. Enemy 2-1 over Chunk Chortle. And then Immortals 2-0 over Grilled Cheese. And then Tribe dominated Cloud 2-0. And then Enemy 1-2 to Immortals. In the lower bracket, that's where it got spicy. The lower bracket was definitely spicy. The first round of the lower bracket, Sentinels dropped 0-2 to do-do-do-do. Chunk Chortle took out Grilled Cheese, so Grilled Cheese didn't have the best of showing. Enemy came down from the upper bracket and defeated do-do-do-do. And then Cloud9 dropped 0-2 to Chunk Chortle. So then you had your Enemy versus Chunk Chortle. Enemy dominates 2-0. The finals in the lower bracket was a banger, dude. I don't know if you guys have not watched this, please go back and watch it. It was, I'll be honest, it was amazing. It was an epic back and forth battle. Immortals finally took it 3-2. And then that leads us to the finals, which we all know what happened. Tribe came out and stomped them. And that's no shame against Immortal. It was 4-1. And that's the thing is, and we'll get into a little bit of like what I thought happened a little bit later, but that's basically the run. What are your thoughts on these games and how it actually played out?
So one of the big things I did come in here, I was ready to talk about is I feel like a lot of these unknown teams, which is what we're going to call them at the moment in time, because that would be like Chont Turtle, Grilled Cheese Gamers, these teams that made it this far that don't have that org backing them at this current moment in time, hence the name more of unknown, or they could be known talent, but it's more of like they don't have that name behind them, right? You see Grilled Cheese Gamers and you kind of go, okay, it's going to be a little greasy. This game might be a little slippery, you know?
Exactly.
But it's honestly, this is something that I really look forward to in every single esports scene when it starts up. Wild Rift is very fresh. So you do have labels that are signing some of these teams, and they're signing them to great effect. They have fantastic scouts, and they're finding this talent. But there's also cases where there's just a storyline of a group of friends coming together and just showing up. And you see it all the time in esports when they're just starting out. Even in League of Legends, when you saw the PC version of League of Legends drop and you saw North American LCS, you saw a lot of examples of that throughout the Challenger series and seeing those teams that qualified up and took care of business inside of the LCS. So there's a lot of examples of this, and there's a lot of phenomenal ideas that get to come out of here because it adds a little bit of spice, and a lot of people turn about and kind of turn it into a negative light. But I love seeing this because these players who are showing up, that are being able to have these moments, this platform here that they were able to use, looking at Chont Turtle and Grilled Cheese Gamers, these are a collection of fantastic players that I want to highlight because they picked up dubs where people weren't expecting them to. And these guys are very talented. They are all very good at this game. And they really were able to show everybody, hey, yo, I can play these things. Hey, we can drop people 2-0. They can sign to a name brand, but that doesn't matter to us. And I love that story of the friends that are coming up because there's still some orgs that are keeping their eyes posted on a team. And I feel like a lot of these players, they got themselves that spotlight. And honestly, everybody did so much justice in regards to highlighting these players, especially on these big wins on the days.
And one of them that is probably the biggest non-signed org is Team Enemy. And I feel like they had the biggest opportunity to kind of showcase why they should be signed. I mean, their whole slogan right now is #SignEnemy. And it's a beautiful thing, and I think eventually they will find their right home. But I mean, on that tournament, I mean, you saw the Twitter post like, oh man, it wasn't my day. And the difference is because like some of these players in these teams, the top 3 teams, in the top 3, you have these guys who've already had live big stage experience from Vainglory Championships, from Arena of Valor Championships, where these other teams, like you said, they have the power of friendship. They came together and they want to have fun and play this game. So no shade to them. You know, they just are less experienced right now, in my opinion. So I hope, like I said, I hope these teams do not break up, and I hope they keep coming, and especially playing in the weeklies. And like you have another natural storyline that, like your storylines you were talking about, like we have a team called Code Blue coming up, group of friends out of nowhere,
Yeah.
finally taking down a dub in the weekly, and they're going to be one of the teams now that can throw their hands in there with the grilled cheeses, with the enemies, with the doo-doo-doos. So it's really exciting to see how this scene is going to play out.
I think there's a lot of growth to be had inside the scene. So I'm also in the excited camp. I think there has been a lot of talent. And one of the big things, too, with Wild Rift to be in a mobile game is how accessible it is. I mean, almost everybody out there has a phone where they can launch Wild Rift and be able to hit the Rift and be able to play this game. And there's so much talent that can be captivated. And we're even seeing some players that were, like, for an example, Tarzan over in C9. That is a League of Legends player over in the PC realm that has jumped over to mobile and is, for the first time, finding himself in a professional career.
Yeah, and there's I don't want anyone to throw shade at him. I know from the PC community they were kind of throwing it out there, but at the same time, like, he's still pro. He's still getting paid to play the game, a game that he loves, and he's still traveling. Like, you can't knock anyone for doing something that they're passionate about. So at all. So one of the things that I saw interesting throughout the actual Summer Series Finals tournament is Ari rose in priority out of nowhere, in my opinion. And I haven't been watching the SEA and stuff like that, but I also feel like that was something that was good and bad. I feel personally came back to bite Hoon. That's just my opinion. I feel like his champ diversity could have been better, and we've seen him have it. I just don't know why the priority of Ari was, and I was hoping maybe you can kind of share some light onto that.
I think the big thing about Ari is Ari gives you the ability to dictate the start of things. She's very mobile. And the fact that she can Spirit Rush in, Charm, and whatnot gives you actually a very reliable tool to actually start things and look for little scraps that can turn into more. She's also very effective at shoving and roaming. It's kind of the same logic that Ari had when Ari is very popular inside the PC version. When Ari is very popular in PC League of Legends, she's very effective at shoving the way and just roaming. That's her job. That is her role. She looks for picks. She finds these different tools. She has a very effective laning phase. So to me, I'm not really surprised that there's so much priority on Ari, because we've seen a lot of priority on champions like Twisted Fate, who are all about shove wave, use Destiny, go to a side lane, bully somebody, go to the Baron lane, go to the Dragon lane, go to one of these lanes and have your impact there. And Ari kind of plays that same play style with a little bit more of an assassin, a little bit more individual proactivity. So it doesn't surprise me in the least that we got to see this champion start to come out and be something that these mid laners have been styling on.
Yeah, and I think with the new updates coming soon in 2.5, like, it's going to be interesting. You're going to have Veigar coming out. That cage is a game changer. Let me tell you, that cage is a game changer. Jace top, perhaps Jace. Who knows where Jace may go with the meta? And then one of my favorite ADs, Caitlyn, is coming, so that'll be very, very fun to see. All kinds of potential possibilities and comps now, and especially right at a good time. Playing these weeklies, you get to experiment and practice things out. So I'm really excited to see where the meta is going to go. So I
want to see somebody get locked in the baby rage cage inside of Wild Rift. That's what I want, man. That's exactly what I'm looking forward to. It'll take some time. I'm still waiting on my brand game right now, too. So I'm waiting to see somebody bring out the brand and have a pop-off performance on that. I know it's probably going to take me a while longer on that one, but I am excited to see all these new champions. I definitely would say the team is doing a fantastic job bringing these champions to life inside of this, inside of Wild Rift.
And they also do like a great event with it usually. So, and it's great because I don't know how much the viewers out there are fans of the lore, but I'm a fan of the lore. I love it. They usually bring the lore from PC and reintegrate it into Wild Rift. And one of my favorite guys I used to watch, or I still watch on YouTube, Necrit, he's great at explaining the lore. So it makes it even more fascinating for me to see what storylines they're going to bring out when they bring it to Wild Rift. So
They always
really good
do
stuff.
them with storylines. It's great. I love it so much, man.
I'm such a nerd for everything in League. So, anyways, let's get down to the lower bracket finals. That was probably the series of the whole event, in my opinion. You had a grudge match, Enemy coming back against Immortals again. One of the things that I thought was interesting was Enemy had the lead in almost every game, and Immortals still found a way to come back and win. Do you attribute that to more of day jitters or coaching or potentially the team comp? Like, what do you think was a factor in that?
I mean, team comp can obviously play a big part in a lot of things whenever it comes down to getting an early lead. But really, what it really comes down to is not being able to translate that early lead. And that usually comes from a variety of things. Unfortunately, there's variables that we don't get to know about. So it could be an off day. Whoever normally shot calls for the team may have been awful in some of the calls. They may have not have been proactive at being able to push out that lead, which is what I felt like was the biggest issue for them. They'd get a lead and you want to continue that, especially in Wild Rift. Wild Rift is a very much so momentum-based game where if you are able to start the snowball effect, you can create your goal is to create an avalanche, and by doing that, you have to continue the momentum of shoving the snowball down until it becomes that avalanche that nobody's able to climb out of. Yep. And that is your goal inside of Wild Rift, because early leads can be so big for you. It allows you to have control over neutral objectives. It allows you to get control over the map. It allows you to dictate the pace of the game. And if you're not able to really control the flow of that, it leads you into a rough situation. Now, like I said, this can come down to team composition. This could come down to shot calling. This could come down to somebody just not having a hot day and the team being a little bit disorganized. But at the end of the day, it definitely felt like it was them getting the early lead and just having this lack of pushing the envelope, trying to push this snowball down the hill. And what ended up happening is if you're going against a squad who is very much so evenly skilled with you and you're going to give them opportunities, and they're in a defensive position, they're going to start keeping their eye open for these mistakes. Yep. And those kinks in the armor, they're going to shove a spear right through that, man. They are going to make sure to punish those.
Yeah, especially when it happens 3 games in a row. I feel like, in the mental part of that, it probably gets to you. Now you have not only you playing against them physically, but mentally you're playing against yourself. So that definitely could be a part of it. And I think, Immortals knew going in Game 5, they had the mental edge. And the picks difference was interesting. Like, finally, Ari mid for Hoon, Truth, Kaisa. Interesting, like that AP Kaisa. And we know Ari mid ended up winning out. And I wonder if that was a factor that went into the picks for the finals. I just don't know. Like you said, you just never know what's going on in the heads of the players. But by the way, the Kaisa AP, we've seen it firsthand. It is nasty. You're just poking away and taking out half their damage with your missile shot. So it's worked before. So that's why
it's disgusting.
It's very disgusting.
Like, you literally tap them 2 times and you're like, all right, I'm gonna go confirm the kill, and you ult in with your killer instinct, and it's just like, yeah, who's gonna be able to do that? You're playing this marksman like an assassin. Have mercy.
And it's very exciting. Like, that's why I'm super excited for the new champions. And then we talked about the snowball. I wonder if adding that second Rift Herald will change that snowball effect in 2.5 and later. It could, and the jungle timer. So it sounds like they're trying to make the game a little bit longer to prevent the snowball. I could be wrong. I'd have to reread the patch details.
It could be an idea of that. I don't know if that's exactly what they want, because I think one of the beauties of Wild Rift is it's very accessible, and accessibility comes from the length of games normally being pretty short. They could look to be attempting to buff up the average time. That could be a very real possibility. But second Rift Herald, allows you to get more gold. It puts a little bit more value playing towards that Rift Herald side. We see teams over in League of Legends on the PC edition. They end up a lot of times you'll see Dragon for Herald trades, which is it. The team who's getting Dragons is normally going to be down in gold because the team that's getting Heralds should be getting Heralds and be using that to break open towers.
Yep.
So it could be a possibility that could be an objective of theirs. And then also, like you said, the jungle timing. The interesting thing with jungle timing is, from my experience, anytime they've messed with the jungle times, it has changed the jungle completely, and it could do the same thing here. Do I think it will? I think a lot of the picks here are pretty stable. But
yeah. We'll see. Yeah. We'll have to see. So heading into the finals, right out the gates, Max Green pulls out the Galio, which I don't believe we saw all tournament long. So I don't think Immortals was ready for that. I'll be honest. They probably were not ready for that. And the first game was really fast. T-Tiger's Riven Jungle was, I think, the second Riven Jungle in the tournament, but T-Tiger's first one. So I like the diversity in the picks. It shows that the teams were ready for different things. The game 2, I think, is where Immortals' mental game kind of got, like, they let that Varus get through, prioritizing Olaf again, like, for yikes. And I get it. Olaf, super carry, you get him ahead. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the idea too, right, is like Varus is technically a champion that's pretty immobile. So a lot of times you look at Olaf and you say, well, Olaf can get onto the Varus. However, Olaf is a very feast or famine champion. Like, he is a champion that you do want him to be able to get ahead, so that way he can kind of just run in with reckless abandon and be able to demolish the Varus. Because Varus can't stop Olaf. No. Like, that is the big thing. There's nothing to stop Olaf from getting into the backline. But if you don't create an advantage for your Olaf, it becomes kind of rough. It kind of falls into the trap of, like, you have an idea of the champion that plays well into another champion, but then you find yourself in this situation where you don't build around that.
Mm-hmm. And also Chuck had Garen that time. He's one of the only guys I see pop out the Garen and just slaughter people with it. Like, Chuck's, in fact, the whole tribe team has an ocean of characters they can pick. So that's one thing I think that other teams will need to do, is just diversify their draft pool, you know, because when you get in the finals and they pull out people that you haven't prepared for, you get caught off guard. You really do.
I mean, there's two options. Before we get into the two option, I do want to say, every time I see Chuck's name, for some reason, I feel like I gotta go like Chuck or something like that. I feel like that is a necessity in my life whenever I see him. I don't know why, but it's a necessity for me. But the two things that I do have to say in regards to that point is, there's two options that you really have. If you're facing a team that has champion oceans in every role, you either need to be just as good at them at having these different champions and having a variety that you can play, or you need to be so good and concise on what you want to play that it makes up for the champion ocean. Because the theory is, if you have more champions you play, relatively you should think that the champion skill won't be as high on all those champions. So I'm more in the camp of, like, if you're going to practice something, practice champions that fit into a mold and play off of that. I would like to see more teams actually going into that, and maybe that could be a weakness that could possibly get exploited in the future, where, hey, this team is really good at being able to roam around the map and team fight consecutively and make these team fights happen. So maybe that could be a style, and maybe have people focusing their champion pool into those distinctive styles.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's definitely, instead of prioritizing the champion, prioritize the style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
I think it's easier to do. If you like getting a champion ocean's nice. Everybody wants to have a champion ocean. It's bragging rights, right? Like, you go into pick and ban and they say, what do you want to play? And it's just like, I can play it all. That's a cool feeling to be able to say, right? But the fact that you can turn around and be like, instead you could be like, yeah, my 3 champions, though, I can really just run house on those. And you see that in professional play a lot of times, too. A lot of these professional players, they have these pocket picks, but they've also been playing for years and years before they've gotten these very specific pocket picks that we associate with them.
Yep. And it's funny that you mentioned, we talk about this Champion Ocean. Game 3, 5 marksmen were banned before before even we got to the picks. So people had to dig deep into this one. And then the first 2 picks I think the tribe got was Corky and Kaisen. So there was 6 and 7 right there. So it's crazy to see like how deep the pools had to go. I mean, and Immortals was banned 3 of them. They banned all 3 of their bans were spent on marksmen. So it was interesting to see like, all right, what do we target? How can we get? And I think Immortals was trying to play towards that, maybe that thought process you have, like, what can we do to change this game around and have a different team comp?
Yeah. I'll also make the other squad just feel uncomfortable, right? Like Tribe is a team that is they have a really, really good bot side. Their Dragon's lane is so good. And you look over at the 2 of them and you say, all right, how do we make them off focus? Because they're so good at playing around it, about rotating around to this bot side and gaining these advantages for themselves. Oh, I know. Let's try banning all their marksmen. Let's try something to try and make them uncomfortable. The problem that comes up still is there's so many marksmen that are good in this game right now. It is actually insane. And it got showcased there where we saw all these marksmen off the table. And it's just like, yeah, so we have others that we can still play here. And it's interesting. I think I am an advocate for trying to target something at that point in time to try and make something go back your way. But there's still some power that's left on the table.
And that's the thing, too, is like Max Green is on a phenomenal support. And you see it a lot in the early games, like level 3 dives on the tower where the jungler rotates down. Even starting will come down depending on who he has, just so they can confirm the 2 kills, you know? And Max Green is probably the best timer and roamer I've seen in the game so far. Granted, the scene is super early, and it's the skill levels here, but there's definitely opportunity to catch up. Because we've seen Tribe get behind, where we thought they were going to lose. And somehow they pull it together and come back. The few times we have seen them lose was game 4. So game 4, ironically, Hoon did not pick Ari. And they ended up winning the game. But I feel like at that point, you know, Immortals' confidence had to be boosted, but I just, at that point, you're down. You only need to win one more, lose one more, and it's over. So I don't know. I feel like they pulled all the shots out in games 1 through 4. So they had to go back to something familiar for game 5 in comfort zone level.
Yeah, I feel like it's also like the sense of maybe that gave them the confidence that they needed to try and go back to what's tried and true. Like this style that they've been playing, which was the comfort, is something that has shown them a lot of victories and a lot of success. So game 4 could have also been a big boost. Like as somebody who's played inside matches, when you're inside of series that are just going the distance and you're trying to get your momentum back and try to breathe some positive air, like you're getting stomped, and then you all of a sudden you pick up that one set inside of this series. It is a very refreshing thing because you get to have that sigh of relief, like, okay, they're not just going to roll us. They do bleed. So I think it's the idea that they went for was just something as simple as like, hey, we're playing good. We can run this back. And that air of confidence, I like to see that from these teams, to say, hey, this is what we practice. This is what we know. There's no fault with this. Let's just clean up our play and try to make this work. Unfortunately, it didn't work for them going into the next game.
It didn't work, but we've seen it many times, especially in the LCS stage. That one win usually turns into a reverse sweep in the finals, at least. Like, how many times have we heard the Mark memes up there trying to sing Silver Scrapes? Yeah, Silver Scrapes, you know. So, and it usually the power of the reverse sweep is a strong thing, but today, like you said, or in that series, it just wasn't enough. But I think, I'll be honest, Tribe is just on a different level. What do other teams need to do to catch up to them? What do you think they got to do? Like, do they got to prepare different? What thought process do you have for that?
Well, one thing I will say with Tribe too is the fact that you do have to take in mind that this is a squad that is where everybody else inside of the competitive scene, I feel like for the most part, is at about the same starting course. Uh, their starting line is different. These are players that have played with each other. They know what it means to communicate with each other. They have longtime teammates. They do have a head start, and they were at the very top of their field when they played in other games. So you're seeing this squad come in here. I personally, I feel like you look at Tribe and you say, all right, this is what they did. They have this going for them. What do we need to do? And I want to highlight a point that you talked about earlier, which was, hey, guys, don't split up just because you lost here. Because I feel like one of the big things is a lot of these teams need to do a little bit of soul searching. We're early in the scene, like you were talking about. And these teams they've got so much potential, like the C9 team as an example. Like a lot of their players there individually I really like. I really want to see more of them coming together as a team and seeing what they'll be able to do. But for the most part, all these teams, all these squads that are out there, they just need more time. They need to have a little bit more planning that's able to go into it. And as these teams get to grow, they'll become a lot stronger. There's still a lot of potential, and the fact that we're having so many of these teams that are these friends banding together to show everybody what's up is a phenomenal thing early on in the scene too, because it's also there are teams out there that are looking at these squads, and these squads too are showing their potential to possibly be bigger names inside of the esports scene in Wild Rift. So I personally, I think if you're looking to catch up to Tribe, you don't look at Tribe, you look at yourselves and you focus on what you can improve on as a core and go from there. Because honestly, that's what Tribe did, and that worked out great for them. All these squads have great potential, so they just have to foster that.
I love that you said, look at yourself and not Tribe. Because I feel like some people get stuck in that, let me compare myself to this or that, instead of comparing yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
I always steal 80s Heroes quote. He always says, the most common thing in every loss is you. Every loss is yourself. So if you can look at yourself and figure out your own mistakes to improve, I feel like that's super, super important, rather than, well, they did this. Well, what did you do that made them do this? Like, that's different perspective that I think these players could take, and maybe it'll help them. I don't know.
It's if you stare at somebody's back long enough, that's all you're going to end up seeing.
Well said. I like that. So snap judgment, snap prediction. How high does NA place in the Horizon Cup in your thoughts and opinion here?
That's a hard one right there.
All right, I'll be the hopium. I think NA will finish top 5. I'll say they'll finish top 5. That's the hopium.
I don't think NA is going to have a bad performance. I'm personally a hopeful person as well. I think NA does have a pretty good amount of talent that has been showcased here in Wild Rift, and I personally do believe that. Now, the competition is very stiff because internationally there is so much good competition. I am hoping to see exactly what NA has to show there, and I'm just keeping my hopes up. This is our first bout of really getting to see all these teams go against one another internationally like this, and really getting to see what these teams are going to go into. So my expectations are, I just want to see some good matches, and I feel like after this event, we're going to be able to, kind of gauge a little bit more of the power levels, because right now it's all theory crafting.
Yeah, it is. It is theory crafting because no one's actually had to play against each other yet. So you got all the people using all other games to compare, and I'm like, I'll give you this. The mobile is more highly adopted and more of mainstream in other regions besides NA. So I'll give you that 100%. That's why the SCA in China and all them that and SA South America, like they're huge in mobile. North America still is not as big on it. But I do have hope, like you said, and I can't wait to see what happens. So we could go out there and stomp. And then what do people say? What if Wild Rift is the scene where NA is dominant? Like, it could happen.
You're really on that hopium.
Yes.
Hold on.
I drank the, what did Cajo have? The super hopium? That's what I had, the super hopium. So, but we'll just see. I'm just excited for a great competitive landscape, which I believe Riot is doing a fantastic job. Who would have thought within the first year we had all these cups and tournaments come together in the first year of the game? So I'm pretty happy with everything so far.
Yeah,
And
me too.
The trophy looks sexy.
What was that? The trophy?
Yeah, it looks super sexy.
It does look good. It looks great. I personally, I love the events. I love seeing the amount of support that I've seen in Wild Rift. I feel like League of Legends is such a known property. Like you were talking about, there's people that love the lore. There's people that love the game. But there's also people who, you were talking about it earlier, accessibility. And it was a point that I was talking about earlier as well, where everybody has a smartphone. So there's been more accessibility. I've seen more people actually jumping onto Wild Rift and just sinking hours into it, because it's something that you can't take League of Legends to bed with you unless you have a laptop, but then your lap gets hot, okay?
Sounds like you know this from experience.
No, I definitely don't have experience of this. I have not stayed up till 4 a.m. playing League of Legends in my bed. But it's definitely one of those things where it's like it becomes so much easier. You can go to your bedroom and you can just take your phone, you can lay in bed, and you can say, I'm going to clock out a couple games. It's kind of like the surgence that we saw from Teamfight Tactics when they put out their mobile version. So I think that it's been exciting seeing the esports, because I feel like Wild Rift has a lot of growing to do, and it's also a very casually easy game for people to be able to pick up on their phone and be able to grab. The controls aren't confusing or anything like that. So I think from all standpoints, from a casual to a competitive to somebody who loves esports, and also somebody who just loves talking like League of Legends stuff with everybody, it's been great to see what Wild Rift has been able to accomplish.
Yeah, man. We have the weeklies are off this week, but we'll be back the week after. Just in case you guys didn't know, Team Liquid added some stipulations that you have now playing for points each week. You want to get in these tournaments because the top 8 will be invited to another TL Invitational at sometime in the first quarter of next year. And if you guys don't remember, the last 2, NA and EU, were both 10K apiece. So who knows what they're going to do this time?
I'm so happy that they did this, by the way, because it adds so much more depth into this. We had a running joke on side of the broadcast where it's just like, it's Matt Screen and friends coming in to just run rampant here. But we're seeing more of these teams kind of coming up. We saw a Grilled Cheese Gamer actually make it into the finals one of the weeks, where you're seeing, like you were talking about earlier, Code Blue is another squad that I'm looking forward to seeing if they're going to be able to grow even more so, as they've been growing consistently as a team over the weeks that we've seen them in the Wild Rift Weekly. So it's fantastic. I advise anybody who is interested in the game to at least come check it out. And hey, it's something to enter inside of. If you got that competitive itch, go ahead and scratch it, get into it. You never know where it may lead you. All you got to do is take that one step forward.
Yeah, and I mean, you get to play against some of the best teams. Why not? Get your group of friends together. Have some fun. I mean, already I've seen some of the teams that were at the Summer Series finals already asking, hey, when's the next event? So you guys get your teams ready. Just join for fun. I mean, the usual it's 8 to 10. I have a feeling the next few weeks it's going to ramp up, and there's going to be maybe 15 to 20 teams. So you want to get your points now. It's easier to get your points now before later. So definitely get those points in.
Yeah, go ahead and start it now. Like, the earlier is the better. Whenever there's a point system, and take this from somebody who has played in competitive games where point system is what you're based off of. Get those points early. Start it up early, because the more points you accrue early, your average actually is better. And if you come in at the very end, it means that you have to win out super hard to be able to grab that invitation. So yeah, starting earlier is always better than later.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very excited. I'm thankful for you to come on the show. Hopefully we can do this again. And anything else you want to say out there to the fans before we close it out?
just support Wild Rift. If you see an event, check it out. Be sure to check out a lot of the teams that we talked about here. Check out all these players. A lot of these players have Twitch streams that they've been streaming on. So if you look at a team and you're like, dang, this is interesting, this is something that I've been really enjoying, check them out. Follow these players. We're still young into the scene, and it has so much to grow. So supporting the players means everything inside the scene. So please support them and support these local events and events that are happening, like from Giant Slayer, Team Liquid, that are coming together to make sure that they're able to provide these stages for these players to be able to compete upon. So make sure you check them out, support them, and give some love to them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being on. I'm Legacy for Travysty and the Rift Recap. Sorry there. Presented by Mobile Gaming Corp. Saying thank you for watching. If you'd like to be on, maybe we'll be doing this again weekly. I don't know yet. We'll find out. But I had a blast. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace.